Yeah. So
I was wondering whether it was 5:30 my time or 6:30, because one calendar showed some different timing for me.
Yeah.
No issues.
So we're pleased to have you all among us. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm in England on the Isle of
You're
Wight.
welcome. You're welcome. Pleased to have you among us.
And I'm close to you, Jane, because I'm from Belgium.
Ah, not too far away. Just a bit of sea in the way.
Yes.
I'm going to change this. That's better.
How many participants do you expect, guys?
I think we have something like 16 or 60 or more registrants, so try to wait a little bit.
Okay. As usual, I'll try to build in some interaction, and we'll see whether that happens through chat box or.
Yeah, that's exactly the spirit of this webinar. So it's all about interaction. So it's all a space for all of us coaches to come and exchange and learn from each other. So that's exactly the philosophy. So it's about all discuss and exchanging. So it's not a top-down approach. So the space is ours all.
Wow, crowd is coming in.
Yeah. Hello, Christopher. Hello, everybody. I can see many people coming. You're welcome.
Are all these people that you know, Case, or are these people out of the world that are straight unknown to you?
So I think we have many friends coming from all over the world. So that's the beauty of this webinar. So it's so it's really a kind of diverse event where we share our thoughts and exchange, having different perspectives. So it's really I guess it will be really fruitful and enriching for everyone, for all of us. So let's get started. So let me first introduce our guest speaker of today. So our guest speaker is Karl Van Hoey. He's an MCC ICF coach, advisor, mentor, speaker. So we're gonna be talking today about the title of today's presentation is the following: do not choose in the moment, follow what wants to happen. So, and before leaving the floor to Karl, so I'd like to introduce you to the philosophy, the spirit of this webinar. So it's really a space for us, all of us, to interact. So it's not just about Karl or I sharing our thoughts. It's a space for all of us to share our thoughts, to discuss, to create some kind of community. So coaching community, when we come each time to talk, to share, to ask questions, to mull over around many interesting coaching topics. So the space is for all of us to interact and share our thoughts. Just Karl will be setting the tone, and we'll all so you're all welcome to interact at any moment and share your thoughts. So we'd like to learn from Karl as well from each one of our of all the attendees and the participants here today. So Karl, so let's get started with you. So and a simple question. So you've chosen this topic for today's webinar, and the simple question is, what makes really relevant for all of us as coaches to talk about this today?
Yes. Should I start right away with the presentation?
So, I leave it to you. So up to you to manage the webinar. So if you'd like to share slides, it's
Yes.
okay. If you'd like it to be really talkative and
I have prepared not too many, but yet a few interesting slides, I believe, who can support the story a little bit more visual way. So if that's okay for you, I would like to share my screen. And after the webinar, we will see how the slide deck can get to each one of you. Do you see my screen at the moment?
yeah, you can see it.
Yes, yes.
Yes, everything clear?
Perfect.
Okie doke. So the reason for choosing this title is that I've learned myself in my journey to become coach, and certainly to become masterful coach. That
Carl, apologize to interrupt. Your screen is not completely seen. So if you could go to presentation mode, that will be better. Thank you.
what should I do?
Yeah. So
Presentation mode.
so
Yeah.
if you can move a little bit the presentation, please. Yeah. Okay, great. So now we can see it. Yeah.
No.
And now there is something really high in the presentation.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
I'll keep it this way then. Huh? Okie doke. Good. So the reason why I chose this title is that in your journey to becoming a masterful coach, it is absolutely key that at a certain moment you leave whatever is happening in your head and you start embracing whatever is happening in the energy fields between your coachee and yourself. And what you often learn at ACC and PCC level, for the ones of us that are coaching in an ICF framework, is that choosing the moment what to do. And this is a great suggestion. But when you're entering the house of masterful coaching, you will notice that even that choosing in the moment keeps you too much in your head, while actually you should go more down and use your entire body to be able to follow whatever wants to happen in the energy of the moment.
So Carl, someone is asking to click on the presentation so it becomes bigger.
But that's what I tried earlier, and then again in the other system. So I'm afraid, well, I can do it this way. So well, I'm afraid that better than this is not gonna get.
Okay, so
two words about myself. Well, you can check all the details on LinkedIn. I've been coaching since 2007. I've had my first PCC credential at 2010. I became MCC last year, 2019. I've had a lot of roles as a volunteer for the ICF community. I've been offering a CCE program. And most importantly, I've also become an active speaker since a year on this kind of field of interest. And I've also started mentoring other coaches to their PCC and MCC credential. Let me start this journey with three key stories that have been important in my own journey to become MCC. First one was an observation of speech. I believe it must have been 2014-15 when I observed within myself, within my own coaching style, that I became quicker in bringing clients to awareness. I became quicker in bringing clients to new outcomes and to new developments. And actually, I did not have any clue how exactly I did that. But it touched me that when sometimes I had a coaching contract with someone for example, 6 or 8 sessions, that I already managed to touch the deepest sides of awareness within my client already after 2 or 3 sessions. So there has a certain notion of speech in coaching journeys, speech in bringing clients to deeper awareness in, let's say, more intensive ways than I used to do in the very first years when I was coaching. It took longer then. So that's the first observation that has been key on my coaching journey. A second one is about mission. My father passed away at the end of 2016, and we had the opportunity that we could plan his separation from us in a more or less reasonable way. We knew that he had a heavy disease, and so we had the opportunity to plan our last conversations. And one of the last things he said was, "Karl, please do not tell me in detail what your job is all about, because I'm not gonna understand it in detail. But it seems to me like there is still one huge mountain you need to conquer. It seems like there is still one important thing you need to do. Whatever you find out what it is, please do so. Please go ahead with it." And there I was. Well, I said, "Thank you, Daddy." A few days later, he passed away. And well, I've been exploring with that question in the next years. And the last story is one about mountains. Yeah. At the end of 2017, halfway 2017, my family and I were on a vacation in France, and we were doing a promenade or walking in the area of the Mont Blanc. For those who are familiar a little bit with Europe, the Mont Blanc is, I think, the biggest mountain of Europe, or the second biggest, and it's between the border between France, Italy, and Swiss. There is the Mont Blanc. And we did a beautiful exercise in nature. Now, you must know that my physical condition found that really challenging, because I do not climb mountains every day. There are no mountains in Belgium. And halfway that experience, something very strange happened to me. It was as if that a very, very strong physical shift went through my entire body. I couldn't even breathe for a few seconds anymore. And it was as if at that moment, my body, so not my mind, not my heart, but my entire body had taken the decision that I wanted to go for MCC. And when I arrived at the top of that mountain, I just shared with my wife and son something very, very strange has happened. Well, they saw it, by the way, happening. But I believe that my body has taken the decision for me that I want to go and will go for my MCC credential. And I took my phone at the top of that mountain, and I called to a person called Nadia, which would later become my first mentor to become MCC. And I shared with her the same question, the same story as I'm sharing with you now. And she said, "Well, Karl, it seems like you have taken a decision. And it also seems like there's no way back." I said, "Well, indeed. Well, why don't you come to me when you're back in Belgium, and we'll see how we can work together." Well, and that was basically how my journey to MCC started. Now, of course, there is a technical perspective to journeys to MCC. And before jumping into my own journey, let me...
If I may ask a question, so Karl, so to open up to just really invite people also to share their thoughts while listening to your story and ask their question. My question is, you said that the first thing that happened with you is about the speed. So it became fast for you faster, let's say, to help people get that self-awareness, get to that aha moment. So let me ask you this question. What makes it really important for you to highlight that thing that's it becomes really it became faster for you to get to that point? Is it really important, and what makes it really important for you and for the client too?
Well, I'm not sure if it was important for me or for the client. It is just an observation that I made within my own process as a coach, that was probably meaningful in terms of that I became a more powerful coach. If you bring your coachee to the deeper levels of awareness, that includes awareness on his identity, on his mission, and those kind of things. If you succeed in doing that after 2 or 3 sessions instead of 5 or 6 sessions, it means that your coaching has become more powerful. And speech is an indicator of that. The fact that you manage.
So what changed in your coaching style? So what happened with you? So that have you really thought about that? So look back to your coaching style and identified that thing that changed in your
coaching. Well, then I would have to jump immediately to the middle of my presentation, because there I'm talking about that. What matters here is that 3 observations: an observation of speed and power, an observation of mission, and an observation of taking the decision, which happened in a quite physical way at the middle of a mountain. Those 2 things have made me to that awareness. Now, to explain this challenge a little bit more technically, and I won't go in detail on here, but for those of you, and I don't know who is in the audience, but for those of you who are on a coaching journey in the framework of the International Coach Federation, for those, this slide may be interesting, because here you see the differences between ACC, PCC, and MCC. So ICF disposes of what we call a minimal skills required document. It's that document here that you can download from the ICF website, or you can download it from any ACTP provider. And there is, for ACC, PCC, and MCC, clearly written out skills requirements. Those you need to be compliant with in order to get that credential level. So for ACC, it's clearly written out. For PCC, it's also clearly written out. They are called the PCC markers. These are behaviors that you have to be compliant with. But for MCC, all of a sudden, it starts to become less tangible. That the behaviors that you have to show at MCC level becomes less tangible, less visible, less observable than the ones on ACC and PCC level, because there the element of energy enters the building. And to explain that more in detail, I will now leave the technicity again and go to what we call transformational presence. One of my most important mentors on my way to MCC has been Alan Seal and his transformational presence material. Those who know him, Alan Seal is from Northern America, I believe, and he's worldwide known. I'm not going to talk about Alan, I'm going to talk about my own journey, but it's important that to mention the source of my own inspiration. When we translate this transformational presence to this slide, then you can see where exactly the shift happens of choosing in a moment and following the energy of what wants to happen. It is actually halfway PCC level, where ACC is pretty much about analyzing, active listening, asking questions, conversing with coachee, coaching presence, being a coach. At the total other opposite, you see MCC level, where it's about exploring, being curious, listening in holistic ways, sharing what you are sensing, holding energetic space for coachee, transformational presence, and simply being. What we often see is that coaches at PCC level, who are halfway, start to transform their coaching style, start to shift their coaching style from ACC to PCC. And that mainly happens at the point of where you no longer use your head to choose in the moment what to do, but start working with your heart and sometimes even your stomach to sense the energy of the moment and to sense what wants to happen at the moment. So, my dear participants, this is an important slide. I'm really looking forward to some reactions of yours. What is this doing with you?
Just remind our participants that this is an open space for all of you to interact at any moment. So go ahead.
I have a question, Karl, here. Aniruddha here from Pune, Andy.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
I see here, Karl, you saying analyzing at ACC level.
Mm-hmm.
Does this analyzing not lead the coach to be a judgmental? If he is analyzing, he will come to some conclusion and become judgmental, which is not expected from a coach. How would you like to interpret that for me? Thank you.
Well, for me, analyzing is something different than judging. Huh? When you have a problem or a challenge or an issue in front of you, or when your coachee explains to you his topic or his issue, one of the things I did when I was a starting coach is I tried to analyze the issue. Now, analyzing means tearing apart a big dinosaur into smaller pieces. Analyzing a huge issue into smaller aspects is one thing. Judging about them is another thing. So for me, the analyzing part is different from the judging part. But that's my personal perception, of course. Is that an answer to your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
And I may jump in to share my thoughts around that also. So analyzing is just looking at, hearing what is said and what was not said, and trying to link things, to get things connected. And sometimes you find that there is something missing. So, and there you ask your question out of curiosity. So it's not about judging. So you're just hearing, listening, paying attention to everything said, and trying to figure out to get the whole picture. So you can't do it without having that critical thinking. And there is really a fine line between critical thinking and judging. Critical thinking is about the story, about what he said, and judging is about the person. So it's just about you trying to weigh the pros and cons and whether go with or against what he said. No, it's not just you're neutral, but just getting peace, collecting peace, putting them together to see the whole picture. And sometimes you find something that is kind of missing, and out of curiosity you ask about that. Right, Karl?
Well, you have been talking quite fastly. I'm not sure if I understood it all. Well, the idea is that here in the middle, and that is a movement that lots of people make while they've been a few years coaching at PCC level, they're starting to make this shift. And the metaphor that I use here, I don't know who of you is skiing or does sometimes skis. Here you're a beginning skier, here you're an experienced skier, and the move between what we call this kind of skiing and parallel skiing is sometimes a shift that happens unconsciously. You are all of a sudden skiing parallel, and it often has to be the monitor saying you, hey, you are skiing parallel. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. So that's exactly what happens sometimes when you're making a shift. All of a sudden you are coaching the MCC way without being aware of it yourself. So let's continue for a while. What is transformational presence? Because that is one of the keys to make that shift. So it starts from a few fundamental principles. Everything is energy. Yeah. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. And the universe is mental and built on relationships. Now, you must know that I am absolutely not good in the world of the universe and in quantum mechanics and those kind of things. So I'm not going to go in detail on this one. But the key understanding in making the move to masterful coaching is search and find the energetic connection with your coachee. If you search and find the energetic connection with your coachee, you will see that the things there in the red frame, exploring, holistic listening, sharing what you're sensing, holding space, transformational presence, will come automatically. So these are not competencies that are hard to catch. No, hard to get is this: focus on energy. That is the main challenge in your journey to masterful coaching. Continue for a while. So mastering your presence is all about holding energetic space for whatever wants to happen. And you do that by stopping to choose in the moment what you are going to do, and to switch to your heart and your entire body, as they will clearly be able to hold an energetic space for whatever wants to happen. That is the key differentiator between PCC and MCC. Now,
how do you do that, Karl?
Okay.
How do you do that?
Well, that's my next slide, Kais.
So I'm reading your mind.
So how do you do that? Well, as coaches, we are used to do a lot of conversations. Yeah, that's our work, doing conversations. Well, you have to jump from conversing into working with your body and your energy, from conversing into working with your body and with your energy. And when you're talking about your energy, there are three wisdoms that have particular importance. There's the wisdom of your brain, your thoughts, the wisdom of your heart, the truth, and the wisdom of your emotions, which are in your stomach. And this is all based on Alan Seal work body. Well, you have to try and start somewhere. And as we are all experienced coaches, we start through conversing. So what I'm going to do now is give you some concrete tools, how you can switch from your head till the rest of your body, starting from conversation and going deeper. One of a very, very important, powerful tool is what we call the 4 levels of engagement. Most people stay their entire life in drama modus. Whose fault is this? A level below is the situation modus. How do we fix it so that no one has to know it even happened? That's the managerial modus. Then we have the modus of choice. What do I choose to be within this situation? And that's the last one, the opportunity. What wants to happen here? What is the gift? So by offering your coachees these questions, there's already a first attempt to bring them not only on what they want to do, on what they can do, on the behavior, but also on who they are, what wants to happen, what is their mission. And you see, these are conversations. These are questions that can be used in conversation. So that is the first tool that can enable you to go from conversing to energy. We'll walk through a few of them, and then I'm going to listen back to you. Another one is the deep simple, also very important. 5 questions, so we start again in conversation mode. 5 questions to get down to the essence of things right away. You could say, what are 3 things that you know to be true about this issue, dear coachee? Which of those 3 things hold the most power for us to explore right now? Then you go even deeper with that thing that you chose to explore. If there was some shift trying to happen right now, what would that be? Okay. And then you're really diving into the identity, into the mission. What is that shift asking you to be? What role is it asking you to take on? And then you end with, what simple yet powerful question can you ask yourself and others involved to start moving towards that shift? So this is a set of questions that can enable you to invite coachee to explore his issue from very various corners. You're strictly staying in the exploration mood. You are not going to any solutions, and you're enabling and inviting coachee to look at this issue in very possible ways, and you end actually with the identity of your coachee. That's what we call the deep simple. And then the last one, and I go back to you. 3 questions. Transformational presence approach is designed around 3 fundamental questions. What wants to happen right here? And once we know what wants to happen, who is that asking you to be? And the last one, what is it asking me to do? So you see, all these 3 slides that we've walked through are slides full of questions that you can use in conversations, yet that invite and that drive your coachee to identity levels, to the levels of who he is. And exactly that level is absolutely key if you want to explore on MCC level, on masterful coaching level. So, my dear friends, back to you. What is this doing with you? Where is this bringing you?
So any comment, any feedback, so any question, any experience to share, so the floor is yours. So it's your space. So please interact and jump in. And as Karl just said, so be in the moment. So stop the critical thinking for a moment and just open up and share. Go ahead.
Hi, Karl. This is Celine.
Celine, how are you doing?
There we have Celine again.
Yeah, my pleasure to have you, Celine.
Well, it's really my pleasure to be here.
Go ahead.
Well, I think this presentation is very transformational as well, and it's very important to see the difference, and it makes me see the difference, and it makes me want to bring this transformation to other people. And I'm always very moved to hear Karl speaking. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Celine.
How is your coaching journey moving ahead so far, Celine?
Wonderful. I started in a school, and I'm at the ICA. I always get confused. ICA, International Coach Academy, which is online, and I'm adoring this. I'm adoring it, and I'm learning so much, and I'm growing so much, and I can really see how these questions go to the deeper sense of who a person is, and not just what the story is they're talking about.
It's an important remark that you're adding, Celine. Let me explore a little bit further on that. A question that I get often from my mentees, people that I guide to PCC and MCC level, is, but Karl, how do you make that transformation from PCC conversations to MCC being present? Well, it's actually very simple. By simply doing it, by simply jumping, by simply starting to experiment with it. I can guarantee you, my dear friends, that the first time that you ask a CEO of a big bank or a CEO of a big 4 consultancy firm to, my dear friend, may I ask you to take physically position somewhere in a chair in this room that imagines for you the future? What are you doing now, Karl? Tell me, now that you're sitting in this chair that represents your future, what wants to happen? Who do you want to be? Who do you need to be? Tell me, what are you feeling? What are you sensing? What is happening? The first time that I ever did that, the guy went literally back to his physical coaching contract on paper, where the coaching objectives were mentioned. He said, Karl, is this part of our coaching agreement? Just to give you a clue how far you bring your coachee and also yourself out of your comfort zone by doing these kind of things. But they are powerful, but you have to dare to jump. Any more questions?
Actually, I have another question now that you mentioned that. It brings another question up is, you know, for you to be able to bring this to a client, must you not be able to bring yourself to that place and even farther before that?
Well, I can guarantee you that the journey to MCC was for me on personal level, private level, and also on professional level, one of the most beautiful, but also one of the toughest and most demanding journeys I've ever made. And these two go together. Huh? What is very, very demanding and tough and confronting tends to be also extremely, extremely beautiful. Once that you lived it and once that you can look back to it. But yeah, it is, I don't think that I am exaggerating when I say that my journey to MCC has been the journey of my lifetime so far, besides becoming father, etc. Yeah, that's the way. You cannot become MCC without going yourself through some of the things that I'm sharing here with you now. Okay, if all others remain silent. Yes. I can't. Ruda. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Karl, I have 2 points to share. First of all, thanks for this wonderful storytelling about your journey of transformation and very beautifully articulated slides and the way you have explained. I like, more importantly, the slide which indicates the skiing experience, and it looks perfectly well in terms of how you want to communicate the way you can experience. I mean, for us as let's say those who are on the journey for PCC and MCC. So I like that most. The question that I have here for you is, at what stage of your journey moving from ACC to PCC, that means from 101 hour to 500, if that is the case, at what stage you experience this transformation of coaching presence, the way you have explained in that arrow, that not to choose in the moment, follow the energy. So when you realized, at what stage did you realize?
I think that it was around, 2014-15. I had been a PCC then for 4 years and a half, and I had been coaching already longer than that, but I had been PCC for 4 years and a half. And it was an observation that I made with several coachees. They did not mention that themselves, that they did not know any better, but I clearly sensed the difference from, whoa, it starts going faster. I even lived myself once the moment that I really wondered, well, actually all objectives that have been written out here in the coaching agreement have actually more or less been achieved. What on earth are we going to talk about the next 2 sessions? So I'm sharing very honestly what I felt during certain coaching programs. So it is not because I put pressure on my coaching, on the contrary, but it is just because I managed to bring my clients faster to the levels that I'm describing here. And that became quite spontaneous dynamic. That happened in 14-15 when I was 4 years and a half PCC. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much.
So I will continue now for a while. So we started this journey from a conversational setting, because we are coaches used to have conversations.
Just in the chat box, Karl, so there is a comment from CD Codes. He's saying what rings true for me is that is coaching the person, but not the process. So, any comment on that?
I'm sorry?
So, CD codes in the chat box.
Yes.
He's saying what rings for me is the idea of coaching the person and not the story.
Yes, indeed. Whatever is the situation or whatever is the issue that the coaching brings on the table, the deeper drivers that, let's say, explain the issue are always linked to the person, not the situation. I'm going to give you a very simple example. A coach brings in, or a coachee brings in the issue, I should clean the house, but I don't have the courage and the time and the energy to clean my house. Oh, okay. Well, you can discuss an hour about the cleaning the house, but you can also try to dig deeper at the why makes it so difficult to clean the house. Because then I have to come in a room where recently someone has died and I don't want to enter in that room again. Shit, then I have to buy new products, cleaning products, and I have a conflict with the person who owns the shop of the cleaning products. But oh shit, when my mother comes in, she starts working together with me on cleaning the house, and I don't want that. So you see, a mix of various reasons explain why cleaning the house is so difficult, but those reasons are linked to the person, not to the situation. The fact that someone is still feeling painful about the recent death of a family member is linked to the person, not to the situation, but it explains the situation. That's why you should coach the person and not the situation. Is that an answer?
That's excellent. Thank you very much. That's very well put.
So while we started half an hour ago with conversing, how you can bring in identity levels in conversation, we should pay attention now to some explorations in energy and body. I repeat, these exercises were also for me very, very challenging and brought me very far out of my comfort zone the first time that I did them. So inviting coachees to explore the three intelligences. Dear coachee, would you do us a favor and breathe in, breathe out. Try to follow your breath from your brain to your stomach and back, and try to explore what's happening in your stomach, what's happening in your heart, what's happening in your brain, and try to share with me what those three intelligences are learning you regarding this topic. So that means that you literally invite your coachee to sit in a chair, eyes closed, his two hands on his knees, and breathe in, breathe out. Again, the first time that you do that with a coachee, with a manager, with a CEO, with a director, sometimes the eyes go wide open. But it's an exercise that leaves the conversation area and that enters the energy area of the body. Another very, very, very powerful exercise, my friends, but very confronting, is just invite a coachee to simply sit right over you and look each other in the eyes without saying anything. You do not ask any question. He or she is not answering any question. You are not saying anything. He or she is not saying anything. You just sit next to each other, looking at each other for, let's say, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Can be longer, but let's take 5 minutes. I cannot explain in words the intensity and richness of such an exercise in terms of energy exchange, in terms of feeling, sensing, and becoming aware of what is happening and what wants to happen. Coaching without content. Again, the first time that you do that, why eyes go wide open, but it's key for movement to energetic connection. Well, this comes back a little bit to the three wisdoms. This is, of course, Leonardo da Vinci. We have our vertical field of activity, which is something our ego is very interested in. And we have our horizontal dimension of activity, which is more the field of the soul. The soul being the element that is vertically connected with the energy and the intelligence of the universe, and the ego very much busy with our survival here on Earth. Well, these two, vertical and horizontal, in fact, should have a partnership. And it is by exploring what the soul can do for the ego and what the ego can do for the soul that you actually make a chance of bringing sustainable awareness and sustainable actions after that awareness. Once again, when you ask for the first time your coachee, try to open your soul and try to listen to what the intelligence of the universe is trying to tell to you. And then you go for his ego. Now, how would your ego react to what your soul is saying? These are, once again, energies that bring you out of your comfort zone for both coachee and coach, but that are key for your evolution to masterful coaching. And so what you actually should do is combining both the conversation and the work with energy. Been talking a lot again. Back to you. What is this doing with you?
Just if you allow me, Karl, so I just shared the video with all the participants on the chat, crystallizing the idea and the meaning of the second exercise you talked about. So the way to just look at each other and without saying anything, sweep off. And I just shared a video, really powerful video, showing how it can be very, very, very powerful exercise.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, remarks? Yes, Cecilia.
Sure. Actually, until you've tried that exercise with even just 1 minute of silence, it feels like an eternity, and it is incredibly powerful. It's just amazing, and I have to revisit that. That's for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, remarks?
Karl, I'd like to really challenge you a little bit. So I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone starting the coaching journey and saying to himself, do I have to wait till becoming an MCC to experience that thing, fully being in the moment? And
there's a difference, Kais and all other friends, to wanting to obtain a coaching credential, which is in fact, a technical process within the ICF, or coaching at masterful level. I can absolutely imagine that when you are, for example, PCC coach, and you have been coaching for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you've built a lot of coaching experience, a lot of coaching hours. I can perfectly imagine that what I'm telling you here, that you already do that at master level, but the choice of wanting to formalize that in an MCC credential is another story. There are many coaches who say, well, I'm a PCC, but actually what I do is absolutely masterful coaching, and I don't feel the need of being MCC. I have all the clients that I want. I'm having a great fun in doing my job. Ugh, I don't want to do that credentialing journey anymore. Okay, fine, that's a choice. For me, it was important, but it's not important for everyone. So I can perfectly imagine that experienced coaches, even without any credential at all, recognize this and do this, but they make the choice for themselves not to go for that credential. That's a matter of choice.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. So, to summarize a little bit what Karl said, so it's not about the credentials, it's about the coaching skills, the coaching competencies. So the more you work on that, the more experience you get. So it's a matter of really practicing coaching. The more you practice coaching, the better you become. So maybe I'd like to share a few things with you. What do you think, Karl, about just this idea of entering a coaching session with that judgmental, actually being judgmental, starting to question your performance, whether I'll be doing great, whether I'll be really getting to that aha moment. Being really judgmental and questioning your performance, how to deal with that, because somehow it stands between us and the idea you're conveying, being in the moment. How to stop that thinking process, that critical process, getting through your performance, trying to make everything perfect and get into following the whole coaching process, get into the outcome, holding the client accountable. So how you step out of all of that and just be in the moment?
Well, guys, I'm not sure that I understand your question. Well,
let me put it simply. So, Karl, and I think many of us went through this. When we started coaching, so we learned some coaching skills. And we try somehow to really practice or really apply ourselves by these competencies. So complete the whole coaching process from A to Z. So that's how we measure our performance. And while we're coaching, we do not think, we do not really actively listen to the client. We keep actually revising and thinking of our performance. Did I ask the right question? Is there something missing in my coaching process? Should I ask this or that question? So how do you see this impacting your presence, your mindfulness? Just to be in the moment and give yourself all to your client.
What I can recommend every coach to do is to go regularly in supervision to challenge yourself, to let yourself challenge by an external voice, just to make sure that your own convictions, if you have any convictions, do not impact your way of looking at your coachee and your way of looking at yourself. So your head should be as empty as possible, to make room for your stomach, your body, your throat, your heart, for your entire energy fields. Therefore, your head should be as empty as possible. If judgments from yourself about your coachee, about questions, about anything else are of too heavy impacts, well, one of the key competencies of ICF framework is self-observation and self-correcting. So if you observe within yourself that something is withholding you to coach because you have biases, because you have convictions, because you have a priorities, you should not start coach that day. You should say, well, it's not the day to coach, and you should take some supervision. If the coachee is very critical about your work and your questions and wants from you outcomes that coaching can never guarantee, then you should readdress the coaching agreements and make sure that the roles of the co-creative engagement are clear. What is coaching not, etc., etc. Yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, great. So let's share. Actually, I think we have many great coaches among us, and let's hear from them, if you don't mind, Karl. So what would be your technique? What would be your approach, your philosophy? What do you do exactly before or within the coaching session to just be in the moment and connect fully to your client and stop and pressing that judgmental button. So stopping that judgmental process. So what would be your tricks? What would be your tools, techniques to get to that place?
Is this a question to me or to everyone?
Let's open up to all our great friends here. Would like to share, would like to interact. Mindfulness, is it easy? Is it tough? What's your recipe for that? Christopher, go ahead.
Can I jump in? Yeah, I think when I started out, one of the things that helped me most was to have a mantra that I always could come back to, that, you know, if the voice inside started up, I could just go back to that mantra. And my mantra was, how can I help this person? How can I help this person? So that always kind of centered me back into getting away with everything that's in my head, all the worries about whether I was doing well or not, whether I was, you know, making enough value for this person to justify the money I was charging, all of that. So it was just as simple as that, to say, you know, how can I help this person? And that tended to help to center me. So that's my suggestion.
Simple and powerful, Christopher. Christopher, thank you for sharing. So just keep your focus on the client, not on yourself. Yeah, great idea. Celine, go ahead.
Yeah, I think definitely everybody is different. For me, it's a little meditation beforehand, and to also make sure that my opinions, my ideas don't come into the conversation, and that I'm there completely empty for the client.
Yes, yes, I like that.
One of the things that I've experienced one of the things I've experienced in my journey to MCC is a kind of what I could call internal cleansing, an internal cleaning. It is as if my entire body, brain, heart, stomach, whatever part of my body, went through a kind of cleaning, as if you go with your car to a car wash. But then, well, with my mind, my heart, and my body, I went to a car wash, a body wash. And it felt a little bit as if every possible judgment on whatever happened in the world fell away. Is being said, I'm still capable of living in my family and raising my kids and judging values. It's not that I am no longer a normal human being with values and judgments, but when I coach, I seem to have been cleaned. Well, sorry for the word, I don't find any better. A kind of internal cleansing of the entire Karl Van Hoey. That is what actually happened, I think.
Yeah. Let me actually react to what you said, Karl. Does it mean that to be just to as you said, just let's say being empty and clean everything inside, just put everything in order inside yourself? Does it mean that we as coaches, we become 100% neutral, so we do not really immerse with the client's emotions? We for example, we move away from having some fun or getting emotional. So do they really conflict, or there is no conflict between both? Being really yourself, clean, and actually living all the emotions that the client is going through.
Well, I will answer your question with an example. I recently had a client who said to me, I've beaten my wife. I've my wife. Okay. Well, except for the fact that the first question should be then, is this a person that I can coach or not? Because there are perhaps other interventions needed in that case. So that's the first deontological question. Apparently, conditions were of that kind that coaching was possible. What I feel in myself as a coach, then, I feel two things. First, I feel a mismatch in values. What a horrible person can you be if you beat your wife? So I feel a value judgment. And secondly, I feel physically in my stomach feelings of heavy disapproval. The tendency to jump this person out of my office was bigger than to help him. Now, one of the things that is key as coach is, first of all, that you observe within yourself those things that play a role. So you observe them. You don't play them under the map, you observe them. And once you've observed them, you are able to take distance from them. So you replace your emotions and your mismatching values and whatever else that is mattering. You take distance from them and you replace it with curiosity, looking in a curious way at that person. How is it possible that a person that has done such thing can be also interested in working on himself? That was in fact the first question that I asked him. Can you explain me? Yesterday, you have a very serious conflict with your wife, even a physical one. And today, you ask me to coach yourself on that thing. How do these two relate? And what makes there's only one day between those two initiatives? That was the first coaching question. And we were started.
Okay, great. We still have one last minute. So is there any question, any comment before getting back to for Karl for the final word? So any question, any comment, any suggestion? I think we're done. Karl, so up to you. So
Yes.
back to you. So
by way of conclusion, if you are interested in going through that journey, there are three areas to explore. It starts with profound exploration of yourself, following by an exploring your skills and shifting them to presence, and then mastering presence. And it's here, step from skills to presence, that this is happening. No longer choosing what to do, but following the energy of what wants to happen. And that you can do that because your presence has become much more important than your skills. So, are you ready for a once and for all commitment to yourself, with yourself, and through yourself? Because that is the start of a journey. A commitment for once and for all to yourself, with yourself, and through yourself. Well, for those of you who want to find me afterwards to have further discussions, these are my coordinates, www.karlvanhoey.com. There you can find anything you want. My email address, you get it too as well, or you can write it down here. I'm at your disposal to do further explorations with some of participants. Meanwhile, I've started up mentee relationships. It's up to you to choose and to see and to feel yourself where you are at the moment in your journey. What is your ambition, and to feel your readiness to your journey.
okay, thank you, Karl. Many applause. Well done. So many applause. So yeah, I see a question in the chat box saying whether we will be sharing this. Of course, we'll be sharing this with all of you. And by the way, so let's show our gratitude to Karl and to all of those who were with us today by having a collective picture. So we'll take a collective picture. So Karl, if you don't mind, so we can.
I will leave my screen?
Yeah, that's it. So if possible for everyone, so if you can put on the camera, so the picture will look more beautiful. And let's take a picture and share it with all of you. So we'll send it to, we'll make sure to send it to all of you. I see many beautiful smiles. Thank you for that. So what a beautiful picture, what a beautiful diversity. So in 3, 1, 2, 3, cheers. Done. Many applause for all of you, and many applause for Karl. Great job. And it was a great pleasure to have all of you today, and see you in 2 weeks from now with another webinar. Thank you all, and enjoy your time. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Karl. Thanks, Excellencia.